So recently I've been getting a lot of the same question on some of my different shorts, sometimes my videos. Pretty much any time that, I'm talking or showcasing photos about my Fujifilm X100 or kind of like any Fujifilm related subjects, that question tends to be all the time is, what kind of recipe are you using? What is the Fujifilm recipe? Can you link it to me? Is there different settings that you're using? What's your settings for your Fujifilm recipes? Are you using classic chrome? Are you using all these different, built-in stuff? And the answer is that I personally don't really like using recipes or even JPEG formats in general. Now, I have a bit of this own kind of idealization or my whole logic behind why I don't do this. And, this is my own personal reasoning as to why I don't like JPEG baking in certain looks into the things that I'm making, at least anymore. And, some people might follow along with this. They might, be like, who cares, whatever. Oh, why don't you just shoot JPEG and RAW, blah, blah, blah. But there's a lot of different things that kind of have led up to me being like, I really want to have that format or the best quality possible of something that I'm creating or something that I really like, as well as just a way for me to kind of go back to the stuff I have made before, tweak it and change it up to something that's more current into the style that I like now. And a lot of this kind of started back when I was looking at a lot of old photos in high school. Growing up, going through some of my old hard drives, going through old SD cards, just looking through a bunch of different stuff and finding out that there's a lot of photos in there where I really love the compositions, or it has, a lot of different stuff going on with friends or whatever, but it has either like a filter or these different types of editing that I just really don't like anymore. And I think that sometimes kind of even ruins the photo or the video, or I don't have the master files or the raw files for those photos or videos that I've taken growing up. It kind of sucks because sometimes I feel like a lot of those memories kind of get ruined, or the quality is so degraded over time that I really wish I still had those old photos and the raw formats to go back. Sometimes I'll see like a black and white photo. For some reason, I was really into like black and white back then for compositions that didn't really make sense for it, because I didn't know, I was like, oh, black and white, this looks classy, cool, let's use that photo. But then I'm like, now I want to see that photo in color. I want to see, what did the world look like back then, 10 years ago now? What did it look like? Is it the same kind of perception that I have of what the world looked like 10 years ago through my eyes and my mind? Is it still the same? But some of those old photos that were, either shot in JPEG, or they were shot with a filter on them, or they were on Instagram, and I don't have those original full files anymore. It's a lot of those kind of built up different things that I've kind of started to push away from, especially when it comes to the things that I really like. Recently, I've been kind of going through and trying to figure out what are my favorite movies, what have been my favorite video games, what has been my favorite soundtracks, my favorite music, and making sure, do I actually have the best quality version of those things? Do I have the physical version of those things? Do I have something that's tangible that will last me decades from now, later on, when, maybe the internet goes dead or something, or I don't have access to drive folders anymore, or my SSDs go bad, my hard drives go bad? Do I actually have those copies that are of best quality to me that I really want to keep and hold on to, either for sentimental value, for passing on through family, to just continue to enjoy the things that I like? So I've been kind of going through and buying things like Criterion collections of movies, like Perfect Days, which has been one of my favorite movies of the past 5 years. I made sure I have the best quality version of that. I've been buying a lot more vinyl records, more cassette tapes and stuff of music that maybe, Bandcamp might not be around 20 years from now. We have things like the Xbox 360, marketplace just poof, dying. And if you didn't back up any of those things onto ROMs, or you didn't have the disc versions of it, well, it's all that history is now gone. So that's kind of the logic I've been putting behind a lot of the things that I do with photography now. Obviously, you can do things such as taking photos of JPEGs and RAWs off of Fujifilm cameras, but at the same time, I'm already going to be uploading those raw images straight to my computer as soon as possible. I'm not one that I wait for a very long time to put something and go through it and do everything. No, when I was like even in Chicago taking photos with my Fujifilm, every day I was immediately backing up all those files and all those photos straight to Lightroom, straight to my SSD. Like everything was already backed up, and I already started editing those because I was like so jazzed to go ahead and start editing and putting my flair on things. And you can't really do that with the JPEGs. Obviously now Fujifilm has kind of leaned in more into like having those custom dials to where you can put in more Fuji recipes in different styles that you want and bake them into photos. But for me, I don't immediately post stuff to social media. I'm not one that's like quick to like have, you know, like I would need a photo right now on my phone or anything. I've never really been like that before. I've always kind of like taken that extra step of making sure that I'm going through my favorite photos on a bigger screen, that it looks good, that I have the flair, and if it matches what I thought I was going to take and what I was going to apply to that edit later on. And that's kind of where I am right now with like Fujifilm film recipes. I think they're great if you're starting out, if you just want something quick, if you don't really want to put in like that extra couple steps of effort to maybe, you know, holding on to your stuff later on, making sure that you're saving memories and stuff in a certain way. That's great. But for me, it's like I go back a couple of years, I'm like, wow, JPEGs degrade after a long time. The more you start trading around to a phone, to Instagram, blah, 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 more compression, it starts to look like shit. So that's kind of why I like to save my RAW files. That's why I like to edit them myself. That's why I like to go back even like a couple of years ago when I edited a photo and I was like, I don't really like that style anymore. Let me remaster them and do something different with them. So that's kind of how I am with Fujifilm film recipes. Let me know what you guys think about them, what you personally do, and your kind of like logic when it comes to these sorts of topics about preservation and everything. So hope you guys have a great one. Happy Halloween if this comes out a day late. Other than that, hope you guys have a great weekend, and yeah, let's kind of do some more topics like this. Have a good one. Bye-bye.